Well, greetings and salutations, dear scorekeepers. It's time for another episode of your favorite podcast, The Score, where we talk about arts and culture through our Black queer lenses. As always, I am your host, Rocky Jones, and I'm here with my two delightful co-hosts. You both get the same adjective this time. How about that?
Finally,
I can do that. Equality.
I'm tired of being the unmoisturized one, so thank you.
Just because Paige is moisturized doesn't mean that you're unmoisturized. My goodness, we can see your skin is healthy and glowing.
Exactly. We all know ashiness is not part of your
That's
brand. It's
not part
not
of
part
the
of your
brand. That's
reputation.
not part of the brand.
We
I'm
know
so
this.
sorry that that you've been going for the last couple of years thinking we thought that of you. Of course not.
I appreciate the public clarification. Thank
Of
you.
course, of course. Well, the unashy voice that you just heard is, of course, our dear Dr. Lee Bynum. Hello, Dr. Lee Bynum. How are you?
Bienvenidos to Mexico.
Okay.
Hey.
Yes,
Yes. See,
I'm trying to go to Mexico sometime soon.
me too, child. I could
Hmm.
use a dose of sun, some tequila, some
Some
delicious
sand.
food.
Hmm.
Just all of the above, and also to hear people speaking in the beautiful Spanish language, one of my favorite things.
Now, whether or not they need a dose of us and our
Ciao.
nonsense.
Uh.
They're like, stay where you are.
We're gonna enjoy all this fine tequila and delicious food without you and your nonsense, which I fully understand. And of course,
Absolutely.
what would we do without the there are no words for how wonderful and moisturized.
Oh.
Paige Reynolds, hello Paige. How are you?
Hello, hello.
I'm liking
I
this
am
blonde
well.
moment we're having.
Mhm.
Thank you. Thank you. I feel luminous, you know?
Mm, okay. Love that. Well, what's going on? What's new?
Oh, what is new? Ciao. In America, here, something new every
Oh,
day.
Every
Something
day.
new every day. I'm glad it's summertime though, so we can at least literally touch grass.
Hmm.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that
I mean,
feels nice.
I know I'm not the first person to say this, but it would be so nice to live in a precedented time. These unprecedented times are it's a bit much. I'm just
Yeah,
saying.
something predictable, something, but
Yeah, if
please,
everyone could
that'd be
just
great.
calm the fuck down, that would
Mhm.
be so nice.
Mhm.
I don't think they plan on doing that, but it would be nice. It would
No,
be.
no, they don't. They really, really
Yeah.
don't. Which I mean, I guess means that we can't either. So, I guess let's get on with the bullshit. We were we were supposed to have a guest on this week, and I'm praying to the heavens above that we get to have this person on the show sometime because they are
Mhm.
so fabulous, and every time that I get to talk with them, it is a treat. So hold on to that. But we just thought, since we needed to pivot, we would just have an episode just all about current events. Because
Mhm.
there is some mess, messy, messica
Mm, 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 mm.
Going
Messica, Messy
on.
Jackson. Hmm.
Bessie Smith. Oh my goodness. And I think we said, I think last fall and probably again this past winter, that we were not going to really discuss Donald Trump as much as possible on this show. But I do think like all of the topics that we are going to cover today just sort of have a common theme. And that's not necessarily Donald Trump himself, but sort of the essence and aura of
Yeah.
Trumpism sort of
Yes.
permeating
Everything.
people's psyches.
Yeah,
It's
it's a
just
disease.
it's just what's in the air. That and COVID.
Oh, right.
Yeah, that's still
Yeah,
happening. That's still
Uh,
happening.
yep,
No
yep, yep.
vaccines for you.
uh,
Nope, nope. Good luck to you and your respiratory system. You're on your own. You're
Buy your
on
masks
I
now.
mean, COVID pairs not that nicely with measles, right? So,
Ah,
you know, another
ah.
measles outbreak was reported, and it's like, what? None of us has measles or has ever had it, and we know why we have it.
Mhm.
So I don't know what the confusion is. Like legit. Like I don't know what the confusion is. And I really want somebody who is an anti-vaxxer to actually break it down for me using something akin to facts. Because I would love to be able to at least understand, even if I will
You're not
never
gonna do
agree. No, I know
You're
I'm
not gonna
not.
do that.
But they can't because there are no facts in their favor. This is all lies, fallacies, fairy tales.
Just like it's a fairy tale and a conspiracy that the water at Rock Creek is actually
Girl,
contaminated
I
and you shouldn't swim in it. You know, the silver lining is that RFK may take himself out of here. You
you
know?
know, as someone who grew up in the Washington, D.C. area, who every couple of years there was like we all had to boil our water
Mhm.
before consuming it or bathing in it. The Anacostia River, right there, contaminated as all get out. You dip a toe into that water and you start hallucinating immediately. The idea that this is just a grand conspiracy and like girl is like go take a bath in the Rock Creek like it's Irish Spring. Like, sir, what?
Is so I keep coming back to this because one of my many passions is antiquity and sort of the histories of all of these old empires and nations that no longer exist. And as we've talked about before on the show, the lead poisoning in the aqueducts, making everybody sort
Mm.
of off their game in the last couple hundred years of Rome.
Mhm.
What are what is it for us? Is there something in our water? It's definitely something in the air, but is there also something in our
Mhm.
water? Is it in our food? Because I feel like people have just turned their brains off to all kinds of things. And I mean, we're literally out here going along with stuff, defending things, defending people who are wrong. And we know they're wrong. And this isn't just like a gentle looking the other way. Like we as a society are complicit in a whole lot of things that are bringing about our downfall, and our kids are sitting back watching a lot of this. And I can't imagine what it is to grow up as a kid in the Trump era thinking that this is what leadership looks like. Um, I wonder. I legitimately wonder, like, are we all afflicted with some kind of serious medical condition that's affecting our cognition, and we're in the middle of it, so we don't know it yet. But I feel like there's a lot of evidence to the American brain.
Well, I mean, we are full of microplastics.
Uh,
That could be
yeah.
part of it.
That's,
Isn't the world or is that uniquely us being uniquely terrible thing?
I feel like
hmm.
if it is the rest of the world, they're at least trying to take steps to mitigate it. You
And we're
know what I
trying to like
mean?
mainline it directly
Oh
into our
yeah,
brain.
like we are
Yeah.
like I was reading the other day that like Europe and I think a couple of other places have now banned wheat thins because it's
Oh,
been proven that there is some sort of carcinogen in wheat thins. And we're just gobbling them up.
but wait, what?
Yes.
Well, this is also what happens when you don't have a functioning government and the parts of the government that are responsible for making sure you don't eat things that will kill you or cause major developmental issues in your children is more worried with facilitating there being major developmental issues with your children by saying don't vaccinate them and ending effectively every kind of research into cancer that was happening in our country. Like this is what is supposed to play out. I mean, we're all going to die by cracker. It's I got nothing.
That was a very good pun. By the way.
It really was.
That was very well done.
Hard R.
All dying by cracker one way or another.
Oh.
Well, there's our episode. There's our episode title. Oh my goodness gracious. Well, where should we start? Where should we begin? I feel like this morning I Lee, you sent us a video yesterday of a man, Glenn Lowry, is that
Mhm.
his name?
That is he.
Uh, I don't know, former question mark black conservative,
Yeah, there's a question there. Question with him too.
who was interviewed by Brianna Joy Gray, about his eyes sort of being open to American racism when he was let go, I guess, from the Manhattan Institute for, uh, you know, defending the Palestinian people. And he was seemed to be surprised
Shocked, I
by
would call
this
it.
by this fact.
Yeah,
A man who's been black for 75 years,
At
right?
his big old
a
age.
long time.
A long time to
Long
be
time.
on this earth. And he's an economist, right? And like with a PhD from MIT. So presumably the cognition is strong, right? And the
Well,
presumably, right? And the fact that like it really was like light dawning on Marblehead. Like it really seemed like he had just never considered that any of the things that others of us who are academics, specifically those who study race, have been talking about for as long as he's been in the academy, right? Like it's not like these are new ideas that have been problematizing um, American imperialism and what that's meant for Black people, and specifically the economic valences of it. Like this is right in his area. Like he could know it, and he was certainly living through it. And there was something I guess it was both heartening and really sad about the fact that somebody who's been so entrenched in Black conservative thought could have a realization like this, but it was also kind of sad that it like took something that personal for him to believe it, right? It wasn't enough when it was happening to the rest of us. He had to experience it himself and hit him where it hurt, like in his own academic space, for him to be like, oh, maybe there is something happening out here, very similar to y'all's friend Candace Owens, who all of a
Who's
sudden,
friend? Not my friend.
well, I mean, she don't have no friends over here, so I don't know. Maybe that's a general y'all, but it definitely is to exclude me. And it's not like I listen to her, but I will, listen to a podcast that is talking about her. And the fact that she's sort of having some realizations that Trump was also playing in her face recently. I'm like, good, good. Y'all have been overdue for this kind of a reckoning. Um,
Hmm.
but how? How is it that it's taken all of this for anything to start making sense to them? I mean, that's what I want to know.
They're really not going to see it until it becomes personal.
Yeah.
They're really not. Like, I think there's this illusion maybe that the visibility creates when
Mm,
you are, going against the grain as a Black
mm,
conservative and
mm.
saying the things that nobody wants to
I'm a
say.
rebel.
And right, like I'm a free thinker. They love that, love to think they're a free thinker. And it's just not gonna come home until it's personal. It's not gonna
Yeah,
come, but the chicken does come home to roost all the time, and I believe that. That I thoroughly believe. I'm At one point, these people will realize, oh, the soundbite didn't guarantee me security. Oh, the the cozying up to white folks did not get me anything long term. Dang, I
Mm-mm.
was being used.
mhm.
Dang, I've been ignoring the actual problem the whole time. I wish we could hurry that day. We could make it come a little faster, but I don't know if we can. I don't know if we can.
Look, I have very little patience for this particular subject, and I
Mm.
think you all are being a generous. For once, I'm not the most optimistic Pollyanna one in this conversation. Because I'm a big believer, especially like you look at somebody like Glenn Lowry at his big old age, he knows exactly what's going on. He knows what's
Yeah.
up and he knows what's what he's doing. Um, Especially with Candace
Mm.
Owens, like we have seen the grift. This is a
Yeah.
grift.
Yeah,
This is
Yeah.
all about, so it's
yeah.
not
And a
even like
lucrative one at that.
absolutely, 100%. Like you are a black person who's willing to go out there and say these welfare queens and lock them up and George Floyd died of, drug overdose and all these things. They will back that Brinks truck up
Hmm.
and you don't have to worry about anything.
Hmm.
They love it. They will eat it up. They will put you on TV and say, "Look, here's a black person who hates black people.
Hmm.
So, like, your racism is fine. You can believe all of these things because here are a couple of black people who we are paying very handsomely to uphold this system, and they know exactly what they're doing. They know
Yeah.
exactly
Yeah.
why they're there. They know
It's
exactly
true.
what they're doing, and they do not care. It's when it starts messing with their money,
Yeah.
then all of a sudden it's a problem.
Yeah.
Then
That's what
all,
I mean.
yeah,
I
oh
think
yeah.
money, and I think
Hmm.
a lot of folks look back and they're like, oh, now I'm ostracized by my whole community.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now Black people everywhere cannot stand my ass. And I think that will eat away at their souls. I think the money can only go so far.
Yeah.
Mm.
No, I think that's exactly right. And I think the thing that you said, Paige, about people waking up and realize they're being used, there is something I think that's really profound in that, because you can only delude yourself for so long with some of this, right? And there has to be this moment where you kind of like see the limitations of that. And I keep thinking about what Nick Fuentes says, and no, I don't usually spend any time paying attention to neo-Nazis, but this one comment that he made I thought was really profound about talking about those black conservatives and the only function that they served was to be able to say the things that white folks couldn't say.
Hmm.
And I really wonder to be a Candace Owens, like when you hear that kind of a thing coming from someone who you must assume to be a peer, maybe a friend, maybe a colleague, but certainly a peer, what are you doing in that moment with that kind of knowledge that's also really shifting how your own audience understands you, right? Like that's I don't know. And you're right, Rocky, I'm probably a little Pollyanna-ish about this because it's academically interesting to me. I kind of wanted to write my dissertation about this for a while because I find Black conservatives absolutely fascinating because I don't know any.
I
I've
don't,
met
yeah.
one or two, but they're not in my family. They're damn sure not in my friend group. They don't live in my neighborhood. Like I really I don't know them. And I think I've spent too much time in academia and the arts to encounter them on regular basis. But I think about what's in y'all's head? Like what version of reality are you seeing that has you thinking about this? Like what kinds of things are you turning off that you're observing
Hmm.
for this to make sense as a framework? And I'm much more comfortable with somebody like Candace Owens, who I recognize as a full-on grifter, than someone else like Glenn Lowry, who actually strikes me as a person who believes a lot of what he's saying and writing. Like I want to know what's going on with you that this has made sense.
I wonder if, because, I think about people like him, people like, like a Clarence Thomas, somebody who really seems to, in his bones, believes the things that he's saying,
Mm.
believes like, and, I think part of it is a trauma response. Um, Not that that excuses anything at all. And I also think that it is, as somebody who has spent a lot of time in white institutions, you get to this place, and Lee, I know you, well, both of you have, you know, probably understand this, that like you get to this place, these places, and you're just sort of steeped in the white supremacy of it all. And you can take one of two directions. You can either swim against it or you can go along with it. You can absorb all of those ideas because, of course, it's human nature when you are in a space where you are different, you know, either you can go along to get along or you can sort of buck the trend. And I think that, they get these rewards, primarily financial rewards, but of course there's, you know, your social life, your you're welcomed into these rooms with these powerful people, and you are told that you're powerful as well now. All you have to do is cash this check and say these horrible, untrue things about all of the people that you came from. Or like in Clarence Thomas's case, like you just become like a full sociopath. Like full, just sort of invisible man, Ralph Ellison nightmare.
Oh God.
And you just sort of, like all of this sort of white supremacy osmosis, and it becomes a part of you. Um, and it's really scary and it's really sad. Um, but it's more malignant and scary and dangerous than anything. And I think for me, like, having sort of grown up going to like, very hoity-toity private schools, and then that, you know, turning into my time at Columbia, I saw this happening. I heard the craziest things coming out of people's mouths. I found myself even sort of participating in a little bit of it and having to catch myself and being like, wait, what am I doing? What am I saying? Um, and it's scary. It really,
Mhm.
really is scary. And so, I just there is a little teeny tiny part of me that has some sympathy for folks who have ended up in this situation. Teeny 0.00001% of me that has I think it's my Aquarius moon. I want to investigate where where these emotions and feelings are coming from. Um, but in no way excuse them because
Yeah, I want you to investigate them too.
it's actually kind of terrifying. And when you see like these people grow up, go out into the world and allow themselves to be used in this way, because I don't think that it's they wake up one day and they realize that they're being used. I think they know that they're being used. They're allowing themselves to be used. They've made the choice a long time ago, whenever they got into whatever institution and they got that, that reward for, doing the wrong thing. And in their brain, that turned into, okay, well, this is my life now. I'm gonna get money for doing the wrong thing. And then all of a sudden it's like they're turned upon because they're always turned upon. That's the nature of this beast. You step out of line in the teeniest, tiniest way. And you're cast out, and there goes your money, there goes your clout, there goes your power, there goes your status, and then it's time to get mad.
I mean, I don't think they think that far though. And I think there's
No.
Mm,
also like patriarchy strongly at play here.
Hmm.
I
yeah.
think I have to acknowledge that this phenomenon we are talking about is even more prevalent among Black men,
Hmm.
especially those who are
Hmm.
presumably straight.
Hmm.
And
Um,
cis.
Hmm.
Absolutely. There are like even literally studies about this now at this point, that
Yeah.
the way that Black cis straight men are able to assimilate and really often perceive themselves as being able to uh, climb the ladder or become like, well, you know, Diddy was very aspirational for many, and I think that speaks volumes, and
Hmm.
even still
Yeah.
is for some.
Yeah.
Still is the Diddy's, the 50 Cents,
Yeah.
the people like that. They are very aspirational, and so I think especially cis straight Black men
Yeah.
think that like if I can just move the right way, like I can gain as much power as these people, or I can beat them at their own game. Or other people just aren't hustling hard enough. um I think patriarchy is a strong factor here, a strong, strong one. And I'm also fascinated by the way that people. I'm thinking about a particular clip that came up this week, from one very unfunny person called Jess Hilarious.
Mm.
Um, just so not hilarious.
Not
Just
hilarious at
never
all.
made me laugh a day in my
Oh,
life.
oh.
Um, and how people get roped into, or not just roped into, convinced
Yeah. Yeah.
convinced that they can hold on to power in some other ways using what is actually a white supremacist talking point.
Hmm.
um
Hmm.
just hilarious, coming out of nowhere talking about
They weren't
only
even
women can have
talking about.
babies. Nobody was
Yeah.
talking
Yeah.
about trans people.
Yeah.
Nobody was talking about reproductive justice or babies. And she came out of nowhere with that, out of nowhere. To me, it is the same thing as
Yeah.
what these Black conservatives are doing. I think she also knows that it gets her the soundbite. I
Hmm.
think she knows that it keeps her name as a hashtag, because
Hmm.
how else you gonna do it if you're not actually funny?
Right.
um and I think that's another case where people have to, well, no, she may just be transphobic her whole life. Unfortunately, people
I
do go
mean,
along being
I
transphobic
wouldn't be surprised.
their whole
Like,
life. Yep, 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 yep. Um, but yeah, I think that people think that there are some gains in that when it's so temporary. I think
Yeah.
people, it goes back to that same like, well, uh I can avoid this system. I can get over on people. I can climb the ladder, by putting others down. By putting others down, by being committed to these conservative talking points. And it's like, in the end, not only are you going to be discarded pretty quickly, probably by the conservative media that's supporting you. But then in the end, especially with Just Hilarious, I'm like, girl, okay, did saying that actually change the health outcomes for Black women? Because I'm pretty sure she's feeling a way about women's rights, about um, people's bodily autonomy. So, does you denying the existence of trans people actually gain you anything?
Right.
Did it gain you a single thing? Does it change the fact that a lot of Black women are actually dying at the hands of their partners? Did
Yeah.
it change the ridiculously high rates of endometriosis and PCOS? And did it change the wealth gap? Did did trans women do that to you? No, I don't think so. I don't think so.
no, it didn't do any of those things, but I'll tell you what it did do. It did put a whole bunch of Black trans women in harm's way.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
And that's
yeah,
why I have absolutely no patience for any of this, because ultimately,
yeah.
at the end of the day, sure, maybe you are getting a little bit of money, maybe you're getting a little bit of clout or attention or whatever it is that you are craving, and
Mm-hmm.
you are actively putting people in danger
Yeah.
Yeah.
and putting people who look like you, your family, in danger,
Yeah.
in
Mm-hmm.
actual physical danger.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I just can't do it. And like, like Glenn Lowry, like, all I just pointed out was that Israel is an apartheid state. Isn't that just a fact? And then all of it, and it's like you spent your whole career putting people in danger.
You know, I feel like, to that point, part of what has been very, very complicated about just being Black in this moment has been the ways that, for so many people, creating a division between the Black community and the queer community feels like there is something just advantageous about not being on the bottom, right?
Hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
the ways that this
That.
continues to show up, the connections between that and the Black conservative movement, the way people try to appropriate it's the Black church in that, when the
Mm-hmm.
Black church itself isn't complicit, and I think this is all of a piece. And
Yeah.
it to me, like we were talking earlier about, um, what it means to look the other way about certain things, or to support figures like Chris Brown and Bill Cosby and Diddy in these moments where we all know that they are dead ass wrong. And we know that the harm that is being perpetuated against frequently Black women and Black queer people, but also like the reinscription of the broader harm against the community by the fact that from the outside looking in, what does it mean to see large subsets of the Black community seeming to support these people who are doing these things against us, right? Like what is that communicating? I mean, no, I'm not even thinking about what is it communicating to non-Black people. I'm just thinking, but what is it communicating to us? What is it communicating to kids? What is it
Hmm.
communicating to queer people and other people who are marginalized within the Black community? You know, immigrants. Like, what is it saying about what the Black project in America is? It's really bothersome because the media isn't going to do the job of sort of, decoupling as the two of you are doing in this conversation, why so many Black people may still be supportive of Diddy in this moment, or so willing to say there's, this looks like he's being framed because there's all of this evidence. So it looks like he's being framed. Like,
Framed.
no,
My
that there all of this
God, that's
evidence
wild.
is the opposite, right? The I don't know anybody efficient enough to pull together this kind of evidence, to frame a person when we all also know that for decades, people have been talking about Diddy and this kind of behavior. If you watched Making the Band, right, you saw it, just what you saw on that show of none of this feels like it's coming out of left field, let alone what we were talking about earlier. Where are the bad boy artists? Any of them.
Where are they?
Any of
Where they
them.
at?
Right? Like so like there's, questions around business malpractice. There's obviously these horrific allegations of sexual abuse and just even the stuff that isn't full on sexual abuse, just wild shit,
Just
right? Just
crazy.
oh my God, right? Like
Like Caligula shit.
yes, yes. It's like, who is into this? This is crazy. And I'm not trying to like shame people over sex, but some of the shit was crazy, right? And then the fact that there has been these kinds of recurring things around these very powerful Black men, and when I get it, I get the will to understand that the criminal justice system or America writ large absolutely abuses and takes advantage of Black people, right? But there also has to be a moment where you're looking at something and thinking, the vast majority of these people that we're talking about Puffy having abused are Black people.
Mhm.
Why aren't we offering even a modicum of support to them, right? Like what is going on with that moment? But I think I would be thinking about what you said, Paige, all weekend. The fact that there is this aspirational piece of how this looks to, a lot of heterosexual cisgender Black men who are still being raised in the framework of American maleness, who are expecting, what is my share of this? And maybe for those of us who aren't
Mhm.
a part of that, I never thought I was going to get a share
Oh no.
in any of that,
No.
No. No, 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 no,
So
no,
Uh-uh.
no, no.
it's
And don't want it,
I don't
honestly.
want
And
it.
don't
Thank
want
you.
it.
Thank you.
Don't want it. Don't want it. I've had all of these experiences, you know, oh, come to Columbia University. Come work at this prestigious institution. Come work at this other prestigious institution. And they've all been boo-boo.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
Hollow,
Hmm.
hollow inside,
Hot garbage.
hot,
Hmm.
hot garbage. And, and it just, I think it brings it back to sort of Trumpism because I think it's all of a
Yes.
piece.
Yes.
Because it's like
Yes.
Yes.
you look at Donald Trump, this didn't just start when he came down that escalator. He's
Right.
been a figure in public life doing nasty, horrible, dangerous fuck shit for like 50 years.
Just trifling. Just trifling.
50 years of just like horrible, disqualifying statements, interviews. You could take any one of them, the lawsuit against him and his father in the 70s for, denying black tenants in their buildings, the Central Park Five, just any given interview he did with Howard Stern. Like talking about an underage Lindsay Lohan is probably good in bed because she seems like she's mentally ill.
I mean, talking about his daughter. I
Talking
mean,
about his daughter.
that's the,
Ooh, I
that's
erased that from
the,
my mind.
So, like, even before coming
oh,
down the escalator, calling Mexicans rapists, looking into Obama's birth certificate, you
I
know,
forgot about that.
the grab him by the
Uh,
pussy and all that. Even
uh,
before, for decades before
uh.
that. Like, so to go into a voting booth and vote for him, you had to overlook nearly 40, 50 years of horrible, disqualifying, racist, misogynist, downright evil
Classist,
classist
xenophobic.
behavior.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And
And what are the,
allegations.
sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna just add like allegations that are like in the divorce decree and like from
Hmm.
family members. So right, so not all of this is from, you know, a lot of these things are coming from the people who know him best, in other words, right?
Yeah.
And what does that mean? Like, what are you supposed to do with that? What does it mean when somebody's entire hometown hates them, right? Like I wonder that about the presidential election. Like he can't win his home city, right? The people who have sat with this man for 80 years, what what are y'all doing? Other parts of the country that know him less well? You know what? Why are we so willing to disregard things in favor of hero worship so frequently? Because I do feel like a lot of it boils down to that as well, right? Like these people that we love who are out here acting the absolute fool and we all see it. And because, they sung a song we liked or they were on a TV show that we liked or they have constructed a version of a lifestyle that feels appealing to us that we're supposed to pretend like some of the most heinous allegations that you can have against another person, and you want them to run the country?
Are fine, are not disqualifying, just watching people just sort of tie themselves up into a pretzel, trying to justify this hero worship and just deny the things that are literally right in front of your face, put yourself and your communities in danger. Just this morning, the Supreme Court, handed down a decision that, like, it's totally cool. Like, if, Kristi Noem, noted puppy shooter, wants to, rescind the Obama era protections and revoke the temporary status of Haitians, Cubans, Venezuelans, and Nicaraguans. And how many of those, especially, well, how many of those people now are looking back on their decision that they made in November?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean that and
I'm just saying.
the idea of civics education having gone away in this country and what it's wrought, because I will just never let go of the fact that the number one search on Google the day after the election was, can I rescind my vote, right? And having to watch Kristi Noem sit in those congressional hearings where she knew the topic was going to be around habeas corpus, and do you know she didn't even bother to look up what it was, let
Mm-mm.
alone know what it was, because she works in the government. She didn't bother to look it up. And it's like, why are, if let's say that you are a deeply politically and socially conservative person, why would this be the thing that you want as the demonstration of your values? Because they're not going to be able to execute on what your values are if they don't actually understand the mechanisms of the government. There are lots of jobs that are of interest to lots of people, but not all of us can do every single thing, right? Everybody is not qualified to run the country. That is an incredibly specialized skill set that you should be looking for the demonstration that they understand the mechanisms of government so that they can either use those mechanisms to do the things that they say that they're going to do, or use those mechanisms to make changes to the government to make it easier for the things to happen that you are voting for. Not just people who are like, I'm gonna take a picture dressed up like an ice agent. Like, why is that a thing that y'all would want? Like, I am legitimately curious to the point that I've been watching and listening to, conservative podcasts because I actually want somebody to help me make sense of it because it's got to be something else. Y'all cannot hate us that much that you are willing to go through all of this that is also fucking y'all over
But
because
I
all of this stuff with Medicaid and Social Security, that's not just people who look like me. It's not.
but I
Mm-mm.
think that's the thing is that they really do hate us that much. They really, really do. And I
Mm.
think like Barack Obama, I think we didn't understand at the time
Ah,
how apocalyptic that
yeah,
was
yeah,
I
yeah,
for
also think
so many
people
white
really do
voters.
hate that much, and people can't read.
And
yeah.
People
that. Mhm.
people cannot read. The critical literacy
Yeah,
is
yeah.
so few of us have it these days. So few. People do not understand how to read, how to ask, who is this for? Who does this benefit? Who made this? Who is not seen here? Who
Yeah.
is People have no clue. I think people even don't understand at this moment with the business going on with Medicare and Affordable Care Act. I worry that people are seeing the specifically trans healthcare being taken away, which is still despicable, absolutely horrible, and they cannot connect it to their own healthcare and bodily autonomy it being taken away. I think they will literally hear, "Oh, a ban on trans healthcare, fine," and think ain't had nothing to do with them. No,
Mhm.
there is all kinds of stuff cutting your granny's Medicaid up in there
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
It's
Mhm.
all wrapped up in each other, and they use your bigotry against you. They use your desire to be on top of others or thinking that rights are like a pie, and like if somebody else takes a slice and then there's less of it. It really take advantage of that. That is being taken advantage of, and people do not realize it at all.
Hmm. That's, I mean, it all tracks, right?
Mhm.
I mean, it's so consistent. It's just the way the situation that people are going to be in this time next year legitimately terrifies me
Oh my God.
because they're also not going to be able to connect the decision to vote for someone who was saying openly, I'm going to do all of these things, and all I want from you is your vote. I only needed this one time because I'm about to do away with it. Like he just laid all of this stuff out, and all they heard was, "Oh, good, we're sending back the immigrants and all of
Mhm.
the trans women and trans girls who are taking up spots on my daughter's volleyball team." It's like, you can't name a woman athlete. Like, what are you talking about? Where is this coming from that this is like a leading thing, like in some of these things that I've been watching, like these Jubilee debates, for instance,
Ugh.
and like hearing some of these folks and like young people, young men, right, talking about, well, I was really worried about, these men and women's athletics. And it's like, how many women's basketball games did you go to when you were in high school last year? Right? None? Right.
None. Zero.
Okay, so just making sure that we're on the same page about what you were concerned about less than 1% of the population doing, to the point that you are willing to burn up and burn down your own health care, your own ability to get a house, your own ability to get a job. Like it is legitimately shocking to me. It is legitimately shocking to me. I feel like this is the downside of being raised by academics,
Hmm.
because like I really was expecting that people, we took voting so seriously in my family. Like we took
Hmm.
it so
Mhm.
seriously, and we
Yeah,
talked about it. Like growing up, like,
yeah.
let's talk about, because I came home saying, here's what I heard about Bill Clinton. I guess this, when would this have been, like 92 or whatever, like came home like asking my parents to talk me through some of it, because I didn't
Mhm.
understand why like some of my teachers were saying these things to us, and my parents just like walked me through it in a
Hmm.
way that was like a moment of my political education that I really really remember. And I guess this is not a thing that happens at other people's houses, or maybe they're just talking nonsense.
I
I don't know
really
what they
don't think
talk
it
about.
is. It's really scary. I mean, I remember in fifth grade, it was the 1992 election, and I went to a K through 12 private school. And to teach us about the election and electoral politics, all of us, each class from K through 12 was assigned a state. And we did like this school-wide mock election. And we were supposed to debate in our classes and then vote in our classes. My class was Florida, and we went
Oh,
for,
ciao.
I know. And we went for Bill Clinton, I'm proud to say. But it was just this, I don't think that like schools are being encouraged to have those types of debates anymore, or to sort of really get kids involved in that civic engagement. Did I just say engaged in engagement? Anyway, you know what I mean. To
Yeah.
really sort of care and understand the systems that we're living under, because it's not in anyone's empowered in their best interest for people to understand it. And I think we've talked a lot about AI on this show, and I think like that's sort of like the next sort of step in, keeping the status quo, because like, you know, you mentioning Paige that, people don't have like that critical reasoning anymore, and it's in a year's time, I think it's just going to go out the window, because now you don't
Yeah.
even have to think.
You don't even have to think.
You don't
It's
even
true.
have to think anymore.
Yeah. I mean, not that anybody is anyway, but
But at
y-
least like now it's like it's sort of encouraged, like, hey, maybe you should be
They're not
thinking.
doing it.
But like
They're
they're
not
not
doing
doing
it.
it. They're not doing it. And now it's not, in a year's time, it's not even going to be encouraged. It's just going to be like, put your request into this little machine and it'll tell you what to
Yeah.
do.
it's really interesting because, I've been, I guess teaching at the collegiate level for the last 8 years. And one of the things that I've noticed, not just with undergrads anymore, but also with grad students, as I'm getting older and they're getting younger, how many of them don't don't think about things in certain ways,
Mhm.
like the kinds of questions that oftentimes come up in office hours. And these people are grown, like fully grown adults, and like having to give answers around, okay, well, that's the part that you look up. You look that up, and then you come talk to me, right? Like my function, my function is not to answer all of that, like I guess,
But you're the teacher.
and it's like,
Supposed to just hand it to them
You're supposed to
spoon
just
feed.
teach.
Just
I mean, I remember my first semester teaching, having to explain to one of my students, had their mother call because they had gotten, I don't know, it wasn't a good grade. It might have been a C minus. It was something that like there should be an alarm for. And she was just asking all these questions. And I was like, excuse me, miss, the person you need to talk to is the person you gave birth to. That's who got this C. And that's who your questions need to be directed towards. And all of these things that you are bringing up to me, ma'am, that is not that's not part of my job. I'm not doing their work. I can't connect all of these bridges, and I choose to teach adults because I am not the person who can do that kind of hand-holding that needs to happen with fourth graders. I actually did teach fourth grade for a while, and boy, did I didn't like it. I didn't like that, but that's its own story.
It, teaching fourth grade and you seem like a volatile mix.
It was,
Yeah.
With love, with all the
When
love in the world.
when I tell you it felt like there was like some Bloods and Crips things happening between me and that class, like I really meant it. Those kids wore me out, and I did not take my foot off their collective neck either. Like we were just not meant for each other. But what was also going on with these like college kids being like, I literally had a full-on weeks-long discussion with the woman last year because she was like, well, I don't think this is a thing that needs to be cited. So I'm not going to cite it. And I'm like, but I am, even if you disagree with that, since you know I'm grading you, like I really wonder what this conversation is. And then she was like, well, if you think I need to cite it, you need to show me where it says that. And I was like, ma'am, you are so confused about what's happening in this moment, right? Like if you are confused about what needs to be cited, I already have my degree. You don't. So you should look that up, right? Like and you are a graduate student getting a doctorate. I so and you know they're allowed to use AI now, right? They're allowed
Hmm.
to use it. And I really I don't like that. Like I don't know. I think if you're using AI to like proofread, that's one thing. But if you're using AI for any of those other reasons, it essentially means that you are not in any way, shape, or form even engaging with the thing that you probably need to engage with to make the information make sense in your head to the
Hmm.
point that you can feel very comfortable having a conversation with your professor around, well, I don't think this needs to be cited. And it's like, oh, okay, layman. Like I believe that you don't believe it, but like I don't know. I was really I was flabbergasted. Like I was shocked. I was legitimately shocked by it because
Yeah.
I can't make sense of some of what's happening and why it's happening and why people are okay with it.
Ooh,
Ay, ay, ay.
not wanting to cite a thing. That's also that's
I'm like, have we learned nothing from the tragic examples of any number of these academics who have been publicly raked across the
Just
coals?
humiliated.
Right. And it's like I
Programs and departments closed.
yeah. I mean, it was definitely a moment for me to reconsider some of the things that I thought that I wanted to do because I'm like, if this is what this exercise is, and I do have questions about if this is the right exercise for me, given how I came up in this space and the kind of the relationship that I had to education, which meant the relationship I had to educators, right? And I think that's also part of what's fallen out of it. Like because parents are now the people who are deciding what goes in libraries and what kids are getting to read and what curricula look like. To me, there is a direct relationship between how people vote, and then there's also a direct relationship to the lack of critical analysis of why Diddy may be someone that you should not aspire to be like, right? Like this is all of a piece
Mhm.
to me, and it's really, really bothersome.
yeah. I think I get
Mhm.
distressed when I think most about the Black intracommunal
Yeah.
relations. We know white
Mhm.
people are gonna wild out. We know
Yeah. Yeah.
that's a given. That's a
Yeah.
given. I get most concerned seeing the state that we are in
Hmm.
of joining the mess, assimilating to the mess, repeating and perpetuating the mess,
Yeah.
glorifying abuse, glorifying bigotry, glorifying
Mhm.
violence. I that is what's most concerning to me, especially when Blackness as an identity is the way we had to form it here. And the wake of the transatlantic slave trade was about being totally in opposition to that.
Right. Right.
And oof, it's one of those things that just makes me hopeless is a strong word, but um I don't have a word. Concerned also feels too light, but it's bad. It feels bad.
Yeah, no, it's not good. No.
No.
No, no.
No, no, no,
Uh,
no. Definitely the opposite of that.
Yeah, yeah. It feels terrible.
Which
Sitting
makes
at
me
that
feel
intersection
like,
of concerned and disappointed, hopeless, anxious. I get confused more than anything else because
mhm.
I just like what why aren't y'all doing better? You know, like it actually doesn't take that much to do a little bit better than that. You know, there's certain things that I thought we'd agreed on. Like I thought we'd agree that like Nazi bad. You know, like there are things that I thought we were just like in agreement with, and now it's like, no, no, we're just
No.
in anything that is trifling and stupid is a thing that we are all going to rally around so that we can preserve our collective right to be trifling and stupid. And I don't, that's not a right that I really want to fight for in this moment where there are more
No.
important things to be worried about. I don't want to see a 500,000 people deported. That bugs the fuck out of me. And I don't want to see people, even people who hate me, I don't want to see them lose their health care. That's not that doesn't feel right, right?
Or
Thought
just
we
the
had agreed
fact.
on some things.
Oh yeah,
I pretty
100%.
Yeah,
Or just the fact that like the oceans are gonna start boiling in a second. We actually have
Mhm.
bigger
yeah,
issues, bigger fish to fry. And it'd be
Yeah.
nice if we could actually like all sort of open our eyes and think a little bit differently about this and actually like come together in order to sort of uh, ensure the survival of like our species, but
Yeah.
and all life on Earth. But like, okay, cool, 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 whatever. Y'all do
Yeah, I'm
you, I
very
guess.
confused by being fighting to be reduced to your uterus. I thought
yeah,
that feminism had I thought that it had just been done a little bit more than that. I thought we had agreed that being reduced to your uterus and your ability to produce a baby was actually pretty messed up. Especially to me making points like this at a time where there is a woman in Georgia who is literally
yes,
dead
Ah.
yes,
and being forced to incubate a baby.
yeah.
Mhm.
Uh,
But we want to talk about we want to fight to just reduce women to their uteruses and ability to produce a baby for a country that ain't gonna give a shit about that baby. Okay.
hmm
Okay.
hmm
Okay. I thought again, some things I thought we had just agreed on. And I guess not. Hmm.
Mm.
It's amazing that how open people will allow themselves to be to other people saying to them very directly, you do not matter, and still like rallying around that. That I will never understand. And I hope I stay confused about it because I guess at the point that I start to understand it is really where the problems are going to set in. So,
100%. 100%. Well, I don't know about you all, but I feel like I need some pure black joy.
oh,
Amen. And Ashe. Hmm.
Okay. All right. So we'll be right back with that. But at the risk of negating everything that we just talked about, Audra and Patty on the next season of The Traitors would be kind of amazing. I'm just saying. I'm just, I'm just And we are back. That was a conversation and a half, y'all. My goodness. So why don't we end with a little bit of pure black joy in this week's PB&J? Oh, and I should say pure black joy for those of you who don't know. It's a segment where we talk about the black people, places, culture, food, music, art that's making us happy this week. And this week's comes from our beloved Dr. Lee.
Well, hello everybody.
Hi.
So in the interest of full disclosure, my pure black joy this week is actually my pure chingona joy because last night I
Okay.
saw the happiest show I have seen in a very long time on Broadway. It's called Real Women Have Curves.
Hmm.
Um, uh,
Yeah.
it was absolutely fantastic. I do feel like I should note it's based on a play from 1990, which was turned into a movie in 2002. And the title would probably be different if it were written today, just to kind of, address what may be an elephant in the room with someone other than me. But this was absolutely fantastic to see a show about a group of Latinas that was actually written by Latinos. Like it was really, really thoughtful, really lovely. The music was fun. It was so affirming. Every single person in the cast was excellent. They were all like singing and acting in ways that were really profoundly moving. And I highly, highly recommend people see it. It was just a really, really really, really fun show. So yeah, I loved it.
Nice. Well, yes, everyone go check that out if you are in the New York area. Thank you,
Hmm.
Lee, for a little bit of
Yes.
joy, a
Mhm.
little ah. But let's all breathe. Should we just take a deep breath together,
Mm.
everyone?
Mhm.
In, out. It's gonna be okay. Presumably,
Mhm.
maybe.
Yeah, I was about to
We'll
argue with you on that one, but
see.
Well,
Well, it's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. And you know why? Because we're gonna be back in 2 weeks with a fun show, continuing our journey through season 11 of RuPaul's Drag Race.
mhm.
And I don't know about you all, but I've been watching All Stars 10 and I have
Hell
some
yeah.
thoughts and feelings and opinions about that. So we might get into a little bit of that as well.
We're gonna need
Um,
to.
but until then, thank you everyone for letting us come in your ear holes. As always, your face every time.
Every
It's
time.
it's worth it every time. And as always, subscribe, leave us a review, 5 stars, please. Tell your friends. And I think that's everything. Any any words of wisdom before we go? Jesus Christ, any words of wisdom?
So I frequently tell people to vote as my words of wisdom,
Yes.
but I want to amend that slightly.
Mm,
Do some research and then vote.
Mhm.
okay.
Mhm.
I mean that.
My word of wisdom is to remember that trans people are not the source of your
Woo!
problems and to give some money to a Black trans femme today.
Mm,
You know,
Mhm.
hmm
put five on it, put 10 on it.
hmm
I'll do it too. I'll match you.
hmm
Let's both put
Okay.
five on it.
All right.
I love that.
And I guess mine is a bit of a cliche, but especially now that the weather is getting nice, maybe just go outside and touch some grass.
Yeah.
Just touch some grass, just breathe, just take a moment to
Take
just
a Zyrtec.
appreciate, take a Zyrtec before you breathe, and just take a moment to remember that there is more than the discourse, capital T, capital D, and just return to yourself
Yeah,
and just remember who you are.
yeah, yeah.
It's okay, and who you are is cool.
Mhm.
All right. Well, with that said, I think we shall bid you all adieu. Until next time, bye, Mexico.
Adios.
I miss you, Puerto Vallarta.
Miss you too.